What's up, everybody? High Rev 90 doing the driver's side inner tie rod boot. I'm just gonna, for general purposes, just call it the inner and the outer, even though technically, like I said, and if you look at the humble mechanic, this is just a tie rod. There is no such thing as an inner tie rod and an outer tie rod. The whole thing is a tie rod. This is the end, right? This is the end. Tie rod end. The whole thing is called a tie rod. And behind that boot, there's a ball and a socket. So I guess you could call it the joint, right? Tie rod joint, but inner tie rod end, whatever. Everybody, I don't know where along the lines in the past 35 years I've been working on cars, it's become now an inner tie rod and an outer tie rod, or inner tie rod end, outer tie rod end. So, of course, I'm arguing nomenclature and semantics here, but for you guys, okay, I'm doing the inner tie rod boot, outer tie rod boot, whatever. So, this boot's got to come off. It's actually in okay shape, but the other side was shot, so I'm gonna do both of them. This Ford, this is the owner, you know, these things did pretty good for going on 200,000 miles. I mean, this thing's still good. It's you know, it feels it. This one may have been a newer one, actually. This feels more like rubber, whereas the other side was more like a plastic. So maybe the original one was kind of plasticky, and then this one got changed before I bought the car, because this is what I got. Is that a Ford? Yep, looks like it's a Ford one, man, right there. It says Ford, doesn't it? Yeah, it sure does. So maybe it's they updated and upgraded. You know, man, this thing is such a pain in the butt to change, on, especially with the transmission in the way. I got, you know, the transmission is right here. And the ones I ordered, I always order these things in pairs and sets. And here are the jets. We got the daggone jets flying again here near Luke Air Force Base. Looking at this, it's a hard cry. I'm not going to pull it yet, because I ordered a set from eBay from the same seller that sells on Amazon, and I got the wrong ones. It doesn't have the breather nipple. I don't know if we can see it there. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Let's see if we can see there. That's kind of hard to see the breather nipple exactly where it is, but these things are a little pain in the butt to change. But when you're separating this thing, you know, you can use a sledge on the knuckle there. I prefer using the separator. You can rent these tools. You can rent a whole set of these tools from any parts store. But this, you know, I can't find my short hammer sledge. Banging on it works. I've done it that way before. But check this out. I got some tension on here. I've got some tension on here, and I'm just going to crank it a little bit more and see that even. I mean, that thing's on there pretty snug, but watch this. Watch, I got my nut loosened. Oh, by the way, loosen your lock nut or jam nut just a hair, and I always put some paint. That way when I pull it off, I get it right up to where it was. And just, this is more tips and tricks, man, because you guys, there's plenty of videos how to do this thing, and I'm gonna go through what not to do. I saw another video of this guy using a vice grips on the steering rack. Call it the shaft, otherwise known as the rack shaft. The pinion is the gear that comes off of the steering shaft from inside the vehicle. But I saw one guy using vice grips holding the shaft when he was using a what do you call it, a pipe wrench. He took the lower control arm off, using a pipe wrench and then a vice grips on the pinion shaft or the rack shaft. Problem with that is, man, if you gouge that shaft and that thing's going back and forth inside that seal that's behind that boot that keeps all the fluid inside the rack, you're gonna get leaks, man. And then what? Then you gotta freaking rebuild the whole rack and put in these seals, and that is not fun. So I got the tool, man. I'll show you the tool. Where is that guy? Oh, right here. This guy right here. These damn jets. Burning all that fuel for no reason. Stupid. Every freaking quarter, fiscal quarter, they just burn fuel instead of the government giving them unlimited and tell them don't waste it. It's so dumb. Uncle Sam sure knows how to waste some money. But this tool right here, you don't need those vice grips, man. And you know, the original ones, they don't have flat spots on the ball in the socket, so it's pretty tough to get it off with a tool. And you don't need to freaking grab the rack shaft with the vice grips, dude. That thing, that whole steering rack, you know how much force? That thing is so strong. You know how much force? You don't need to hold it with a vice grip. It'll come off just fine on its own. These jets, pardon me, bear with me a bit. I'm just giving you some quick tips and tricks. But yeah, man, you don't need to be grabbing that rack shaft with no vice grips, dude. This thing will come off just fine on its own. So I might make that another video when I get this thing off, just to show you how easy it is. This tool here, and then that way you get this tool, dude. $10 from Amazon. It's got, you know, it's got your teeth here, your serrations, and it'll bite good. I've used these things plenty of times. Stick your extension there and your ratchet or your breaker bar and bust it loose. It'll come off just fine. There was something else. I can't remember what I was going to say about this. Oh, and yeah, depending on your design too, there might be a washer that's behind the kind of the nut surface, you know, where you grip onto it with your tie rod tool. And there, if that washer is on there, depending on your design, you're going to need to stake that thing. Do not, because if it's, as it wears and it starts spinning, of course, it's not going to fall apart. You're going to feel the alignment start to get bad as time goes on. But to keep that alignment straight, man, you got to stake that washer. That locks it all in place to where as the ball and socket wears out, there's no chance of the inner joint actually spinning and beginning to start coming off. So just keep that in mind. Don't cut that corner, man. I'm telling you, that's bad news. Don't do it. You got, if that thing comes with a washer on the inside, you're gonna have to stake that thing in the proper manner to keep it from spinning off. So getting to this guy, I don't know where my short handle sledge is at. But here, I got some tension on here. Watch this. Done. See? Boom. Did I damage that boot? Yep. See, the boot did get damaged. Oh, I sure did. Look at that. I fucked it up. There it is. Damaged. See? So that tool doesn't always work. That's why it is a good idea to be banging on this, banging there. I actually do have a few of these spare boots, so I may as well change it. Now that I put a puncture in it, I'm going to change it. So if that happens, if you use a pickle fork or whatever, just put another boot on. You're going to have to put another boot on, man. See? The other side didn't do it. When I did the other side, I didn't have any problems with damage, but obviously I damaged that. So that needs to get changed now. Don't run it like that. That's not good. Even though these are greasable, I suppose I could just keep forcing grease, and, you know, that's not a bad idea. And they're easy enough to change. I might just grease it up real good over time. But anyway, check this out. Once you get this, where's my other socket? shucks, I thought I had it with me. But this is, again, just tips and tricks here on my socket for the tie rod end nut. Where did I put it, dude? I just had it. What the ham sandwich? Oh yeah, it's a 15 here. I've had my smaller socket, but we're gonna pull this guy off. Now, if this thing, if it's spinning and you can't get this nut off, you're gonna have to wedge something. If it's spinning in there, you're gonna have to wedge to get the nut off. And if it is spinning, that means you're gonna have to change the whole end, dude. It gets worn. And once it starts spinning on you, that means it's worn to the point of get a new one. Just get a new one, because it ain't gonna get any better. It's gonna get worse and worse over time. Now, this is a trick. You're gonna count your threads, you're gonna count your spins. We got 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna keep going. Count your spins. Now, look, if it comes off with the stud facing up, that's the way you're gonna put it back on. If it comes off with the stud facing down, that's the way you're gonna start it back on. Because then, say if this comes off with 14 spins, right? But I start here and it comes off here just before 14, that means 13 and a half. So that's how you're gonna have to start it to get your alignment proper. So that's pretty much the gist of it, man, on changing these things. Doing the boots, I'll probably do another video with my other iPhone. That way I can put it on a tripod and see what goes on. But getting in there, cleaning all that junk so it doesn't get into the rack inside once that boot comes off is going to be tough. You're going to have to hit it with brake cleaner, do the best you can. This one's has less clearance than the other side. Couple of tricks for you. If you got to separate your lower control arm, mine has sort of a pinch bolt. Not really though. This one, actually, what it is there's actually a groove inside the stud. It's kind of like there's a slot inside the stud, and it almost looks like a hourglass shape. And this bolt is actually what holds the stud inside the steering knuckle here. If you've got a tapered wedge style, similar to what, on the tie rod end, if you got one that's like that, you see how that's wedged and tapered up? You're gonna have to use your separator, your pickle fork, or just bang on it. However you guys can do it, whatever, just to get that thing separated. But I'm gonna show you a trick. When you undo your pinch bolt here, if it's got your pinch bolt is there on this style where the strut actually goes into the knuckle like that. Your hub assembly, or whatever you guys want to call it. I call it a steering knuckle. That's what everybody calls it. If it's the Toyota style, you don't have to worry about this. The Toyota style, usually I call it Toyota style. I'm sure a lot of other cars have it that way. Toyota style has 2 bolts that come off of the bolts onto the strut. So then you can just pivot the knuckle out this way. If yours has this style, I'm going to tell you a valuable trick. Instead of banging and prying and all that other jazz to get this stud out, get the stud out of the steering knuckle. Say you're going to do a CV axle or something like that. Come up here, dude. Loosen your strut mounting bolts, and not all the way off. Don't take them off. Just loosen them till they come up to the top. That way, what happens is that now you can pivot the strut back and forth this way and get your stud back on into that knuckle. Super easy, because this is all locked in. This is static, man. This don't move. This pivots up and down. That's it, and barely. So that's the cool trick, I'm telling you. Don't fight it, man. You try bang and pry and all that. Just loosen these guys a bit. Loosen your mounting nuts. Some cars, they're a little bit buried under here. If you got to pop that off, or you can get, you can get a ratchet wrench all in there, however you guys do it. But I'm telling you, if you loosen your mounting nuts, way easier. Ask me how I know. The first time I did this, I didn't look at the manual. And don't knock the manual, dude. There's so many cool tricks. First time I ever did this, I didn't look at the manual properly. I fought this thing left and right, dude. It kicked my ass. After that, I checked it out. I said, oh man, what an idiot. I was cursing myself. So that's just some tricks on how to work on this, you know, your front suspension. So I got more to come. Like I said, paint right there. Count your thread, your removals, and go from there. High Rev 90. Hope it helps out. Like, share, subscribe. Peace. Aloha.